Thank you all so much for joining us for episode 5, season 4 of our Revise and Resubmit podcast. I'm Dr. Kim Bissell, the Southern Progress Endowed Professor in Magazine Journalism and the Associate Dean for Research in the College of Communication and Information Sciences at the University of Alabama.
And I'm Dr. Annalisa Bowen, an assistant professor in the Department of Communication Studies, also at the University of Alabama. And we both work in the Institute for Communication and Information Research, or the ICIR, at UA. All right, Kim, I don't know how much we've disclosed on our podcast about our sports affiliation and love. And listeners, I don't want any bad sentiment to arise here. But you have been known to wear some orange and blue here and there.
Here and there, yes.
Now, folks, okay, so don't turn off the episode. I'm not talking about that orange and blue. I'm talking about a more vibrant orange and blue of the Gators.
Yes.
Okay, but don't fear. Kim is not just a Gator fan. She also cheers for Alabama and Syracuse and more. And yes, this is relevant to today's episode. So I have a question. Do you have a college athlete who you look up to? And the answer is not like, well, any basketball player, because I literally look up. So I'll loosen the parameters here. Any sport, any year, any collegiate team. Do you have any athlete role models?
Okay, so very good question. And I'm going to give you 2 answers. And one is a sort of older athlete, and one is a pretty more recent athlete. So the recent athlete, I would have to say Mac Jones, the former QB for Alabama. I feel like he epitomized what you want to see in all student athletes. He excelled on the field, but he also excelled in the classroom and in life, just in general. He worked hard in all the areas, and he gave back to the Tuscaloosa community in so many ways. I really felt like he was genuine and sincere in what he was doing and the outreach that he did in the community. And I never felt like he was playing a role. He legitimately believed in engaging with others and helping the community become stronger. And so my other person has had more time to kind of grow as a role model in my mind, and that's the former QB for the Florida Gators, Danny Wuerffel. Danny Wuerffel fits all the things I just said about Mac Jones in the way that he presented himself, the way that he strove for excellence on and off the field, the way that he engaged with the community, and he continues to do that. Danny Wuerffel, going back a good bit of time. So we've had more time to make an impact in the community and for people to really kind of see that once he left athletics, collegiate athletics, what he could do. And I would say both of them are really solid human beings. So those are my role models in collegiate sports.
Nice. So it's funny to me. My first memory, my first interaction with interaction that's loose there. Interaction with an athlete was when I was in elementary school and Robert Ory came to my class, and I don't know why, but he came. He was there. He signed a T-shirt of mine, which I thought was really cool. And I grew up on Alabama basketball, so I was in awe. And he has remained one of my all-time favorite athletes. And I feel like I might have always looked up to him, also in that literal way. And so he's one, and that has stayed with me since a long time. And then I also have to say, I taught a class once where I had multiple athletes enrolled: basketball, football, softball, rowing. And I remember thinking holy cow, I've got a lot of students in this class who have a lot going on right now, different practice schedules and a really elite level, different training approaches, different communities, and going to school. And I think because athletes, even collegiate athletes, are so known, I keep in mind the expectations people often put on them. Again, in addition to the whole going to school thing, which is tough, right? College is not just a walk in the park. And that's really inspiring to me.
I love that story. But I have to ask, Am I talking about the wrong episode? No. Today's guest is not a sport communication scholar.
You're right. She's not, but okay, so I think we could ask another question here that might connect things. So what do athletes and journalists have in common? Okay, so you don't have to answer. We're not going to go down that route. But you are right, Kim. Today's guest is not a sport comm athlete, or well, she's not a sport. She's not an athlete. She might be. I don't know. She's not a sport comm scholar, but she is an Alabama football enthusiast. Roll Tide.
And she has a very funny story about that as well. So that's a tease so that you staying on with us for this episode.
Right.
But our next guest uses athletics to teach and reach her students at Central Michigan University, where she's an associate professor of public relations. There are also, as you mentioned, some parallels between the perseverance required of athletes and the perseverance required of journalists, one of the areas of scholarship that our guest pursues. So stick around for this wonderful conversation with Dr. Elina Erzikova. Welcome, Elina. Thank you so much for joining us today, Elina. We are thrilled to be able to catch up with you.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad to speak with you today.
Absolutely. So, Elina, among all of the many things that you have done in your life, at one point, you were the editor-in-chief of a regional newspaper in Russia. And you worked in media relations for NGOs that were helping to fight the AIDS, HIV epidemic in the Penza region of Russia. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because it's fascinating.
Absolutely. Actually, I think my work for that nonprofit organization helped me secure my graduate spot at the University of Alabama. Yes, it was in 2002 when one of the editors of the Decatur Daily, Alabama, brought me to University of Alabama. And she, Regina Wright, my American mother, introduced me to Dr. Ed Mullins. And Dr. Mullins asked me the same question. What do you do? How do you fight HIV/AIDS in your hometown? And I said, I'm handling media relations for this nonprofit organization, but I'm not just writing press releases, feature stories, and doing a newsletter. I go with them to the field, quotation mark. I'm passing condoms. I'm talking to prostitutes. I'm talking to drug addicted people because I really want to help. And he was speechless. And I think it was the moment when like the deal was sealed. He invited me to apply for master's program at University of Alabama. So this is my story, if like a short story.
Wow. That's okay. So we're going to keep going along this line, but I'm going to shift gears on you quickly to find out just a little bit more about who you are and what you do. We'll call this a little rapid fire section of the podcast. So first, where are you from?
I'm from Russia, but I was born in Uzbekistan. And my story, I guess, like everyone's story, is quite complex. I was born in the Soviet Union, yes, Soviet bio-region, Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan. I got my degree from Tashkent State University. My degree was in journalism. And after that, I moved to Russia, Penza, Russia, and made my way from a reporter to editor-in-chief. So my childhood happened in Uzbekistan, and I guess I grew up as a professional in Russia.
Okay. And then when were you at the University of Alabama?
since from 2003 to 2009.
And where are you now?
I am, can I say in Siberia? I'm looking at the temperature. I'm in Michigan. I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's snowing right here. It's winter. It's extreme whiteness I'm seeing from my window. It's called Central Michigan University.
Ah, okay. The Chippewas.
The Chippewa, absolutely. Yeah. I'm a Chippewa, but no, first of all, and most important, I am such a Alabama football die-hard fan. It's just unbelievable. And it's so amusing for my students when of course, when I teach, I use a lot of metaphors. I use a lot of videos, and I play videos with Najee Harris playing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
I'm telling my students, you know what? This is what you do in life. If I had to illustrate my life, I would say, just see how Najee Harris plays, and you will have an idea what kind of life I have and how I fight through my life. So, and I'm telling them that he doesn't know that I exist, but he's my role model.
Oh,
my
that's nice.
I love it.
Yeah, and I'm telling them, I suggest you find a role model for yourself, and just when it's a hard time, when you're having a hard time, just think about your role model and think about all the struggles that your role model has gone through, and you will feel much better.
Mm.
So,
That's very cool. And if it happens to be an Alabama football player, all the better, right?
Right.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm mad. I'm crazy about Alabama football. It just I don't know. Did you know, Dr. Bissell, did you know nobody wanted to go with me to a football game at University of Alabama? I mean, my friends, because I would scream like crazy in Russian, in English, and I will punch this person who would be sitting next to me and saying like, let's go help. Let's go help.
Okay, I have to say though, what would make that story even better is if you were screaming in Russian.
Oh, I would scream, let's go Bama, let's go Bama. And after that, in Russian, translation would be, what are you doing? Ну что ты делаешь? Ну что же ты делаешь? Like that. It was like, nobody wanted to go with me after having experienced sitting next to me once.
Oh.
That's hilarious. So, Elina, you told us that after you got your undergraduate degree in journalism, you went on to work as a journalist and then be an editor-in-chief. But thinking back to young Elina, before you went to college, what did the young Elina want to do when she grew up? Were you always kind of on track to be a journalist, or did you see yourself doing different things?
Oh, absolutely. I think I was born a journalist. If somebody is asking me like this psychological test, like, who are you? I would say I'm a journalist. And it just happened that I was probably 13 when I knocked on the door of my city newspaper editor, and I heard him saying, come in, come in. And I came in, and he was on the phone with someone, and he was screaming, yelling at this person, something like, I told you many times, you have to fix that roof for these poor people who have had leaking roof for months. If you don't do your job, I will do my job. I will destroy your reputation.
Wow.
And I was, imagine like a teenage girl standing in front of the editor who is screaming at clearly some kind of boss, some kind of authority. And I was terrified and inspired at the same time. And I was thinking, oh my God, journalism is not about writing. Journalism is about making sure things are right. Oh my God, journalism is about fighting for someone who doesn't have a voice. I like it. So, and this is why. And when I came to Alabama and became a master's student, I remember myself having a conversation with one of Alabama editors, newspaper editor. I was telling what Russian journalists did in that time. Like we had a famous reporter of Novaya Gazeta. His last name is Ismailov. He went to Chechnya and negotiated with, let's say, fighters to free Russian soldiers. And as you know, the army in Russia is not optional. It's mandatory. You are 18, you are a male, and you go. And it was a great action endeavor that Novaya Gazeta did in the 90s. And I was asking that editor, so can you do something like that? Like, can you actively advocate? Can you fight? Can you be an advocate? And this editor said, oh no, we kind of will looking from above, like on the side. No. We are just neutral observers. And I said, really? But why all these mainstream media affiliations are so clear? Why their political leaning is so clear? If you watch a particular network or read newspaper, it's not neutral. It's biased. And the editor said, so basically the editor couldn't answer my question. So, and eventually I told the editor, I don't understand what is the purpose of you. If you don't fight for a change, why you exist, why you work as an editor. So, oh my God, I'm just thinking back and I'm just, oh my God, I wasn't nice. I was that I had were awkward, but what I can say, it was sincere. Okay.
So as you mentioned that you came to Alabama and then were invited to apply to the graduate program. As you were in the graduate program and then after you graduated, did you do, what did you research? Did you do kind of similar research in journalism? Did that transition to something else? Can you give our listeners an elevator pitch on your scholarship?
Okay. So speaking of football language, house divided.
Oh, wow.
It's like Alabama, Auburn. I have so many interests, and it's kind of hurts me, and at the same time it helps me, because I think I still have a mentality of a newspaper editor. I'm curious about so many things. I make sure, like quotation mark, my newspaper is full of different stories. So the house divided in the sense that I love researching public relations, and I love researching Russian journalism. And this public relation connection is absolutely clear and justifiable because as you could guess already, Russian journalism is advocacy journalism. So, and for me, public relations is a tool to make the world a better place. This is why I research public relations and journalism. And the reason why I'm doing it, because I had and I still have two greatest mentors ever. Dr. Bruce Berger Roll Tide, and
Roll Tide.
Dr. Wilson Lowry. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
So the connection that happened early 2000s, we still working together on many projects. And we published a book with Dr. Lowry in 2020.
I was going to ask, because I knew about this book, can you tell us a little bit more about, what the book is about and your collaborations with Dr. Wilson Lowry, now a professor in journalism and creative media here?
It started maybe 2006. I think the first time I was collecting data in Russia under Dr. Lowry's supervision. Basically, we came up with questions, interview questions and research questions, and Dr. Lowry blessed me to go to Russia and collect data. And we built up this data for 13 years, publishing piece by piece different articles, and finally it was a book of 13 years of little victories and big struggles that Russian regional journalism is going through right now. I think it's the most under-researched area in journalism, because it's so easy to say how bad mainstream Russian media are serving the regime. It's kind of easy. You don't need to dig really. You don't need to go there and become part of them and live their days with them, do their duties. I mean, drink tea, drink coffee. I'm not drinking alcohol, so this is like, if somebody wants you to say me, oh, when she will say about alcohol? No. I was born in Central Asia. In Central Asia, we don't drink alcohol, okay? So this is what is the most fascinating part for me when it comes to Russian regional journalism. You go there, you go to different provinces, and you become part of a family, and you live their lives with them, and like you work with them, you breathe the same air, you feel their concerns and sometimes happiness. And this is what the book is about, how everyday newsroom looks like. And this is what was an ongoing conversation with reporters in Russia. Basically, tell the West, do not perceive us as submissive, evil, like, not very smart people. No, we are different. We are like American journalists, we are like Norwegian journalists, Chinese journalists. We have our lives, we have our desires. We want to help people, and we want to make the world a better place.
So I have a couple of follow-up questions here. So one is, and they're related, is you had this idea to study Russian journalism. So the first question is, did you always, like from the beginning, did you think, I'm going to write a book? And then my second question is, you had a big idea. How did you navigate kind of sub questions that may have come up while you were over there collecting data? Did you follow like one trajectory and one kind of goal, or did you come up with like multiple research questions from your work over there?
Interesting, very good question. So as I mentioned before, with Dr. Lowry's blessing and very precise guidance, I had like a map. And at the same time, I was free to discover new things. And it's interesting how it was working out. I would come to Russia to collect data on a certain topic, and suddenly something pops up. and I will grab it and start developing it, and I will communicate with Dr. Lowry via email. Dr. Lowry, look, this is such a clear pattern. And Dr. Lowry would say, oh God, probably. And he would respond nicely, you know, very politely. This is very interesting. Just keep digging. It's basically like a chain reaction. So, but you have to be quotation mark opens in the field, quotation mark closes. You have to know how these people live, how your respondents feel, how they behave. You have to experience what they experience if you want to be successful. This is to me. I love content analysis, but it's not just what I do.
Okay, so speaking of content analysis, tell us a little bit about what you teach, and does your research make it into your classroom?
Oh, absolutely. Like with my, I would say, such a bubbly personality, I tend to share my research with my students. And I think, and I have had a number of studies that students were helping, and students were co-authors on the papers, even if it's just undergraduate students, and some were graduate students. Even journalist department here doesn't have a graduate program. Absolutely, because if you find something interesting, unexpected, you just can't keep it to yourself. You have to share, because all these findings are such inspirational. Yes, it would be sinful not to use what you do in your classroom, because it's not about retelling your textbook. It's about providing students with real life examples.
That's great.
Yeah.
So shifting gears just a little bit, Elina, I know you were here during the time when Dr. Jennings Bryant was also here. And I wondered if you had any interaction with him, if you took a class from him, and if you have any great Jennings Bryant stories.
Oh, absolutely. I took 2 classes with him. One was a theory class, and another one, children and media. And Dr. Jennings Bryant was very supportive of me. And it's not like he was supportive of me and not everyone else. No, he was supportive of everyone. And it's very interesting. What he said to me, I'm repeating to my students. I remember we were walking to some networking event with him from the building to, I think, to University Center. And I was complaining to him how it's difficult to create a study, to write a study that it would not be just, you know, listing your results, findings, but really incorporating theory. And I remember him walking and saying, I understand, it doesn't come naturally. And now when students complain about something, I would say, I understand, it doesn't come naturally. So, and during that networking event, when older graduate students were talking to us who just became graduate students, he said, I didn't sleep. When I was at grad school, I didn't sleep. And it was such a discovery for me. And I was looking at him and thinking, oh my God, I don't sleep, but who I am compared to him. And now when students complain, and I would say, you know what? When I was at grad school, I didn't sleep. So yeah, lasting impact, absolutely lasting impact.
So I like what you said. It doesn't come naturally. And for our listeners who might be newer to academia or newer to communication research, when it doesn't come naturally, what keeps you motivated to keep going?
Because I know I will succeed. I know one day it would be almost perfect. It's just a matter of doing. And what helped me working on research studies, kind of continuation of what I've been doing since I was a teenager. It's writing, it's sharing. If you, as a graduate student, approach this endeavor not from the point you have to publish because you have to get tenure, or you have to publish as a graduate student because you need to get a job, it would be not as pleasant experience. But if you think about what you do research-wise as your opportunity to share insights and help someone understand better a particular phenomenon. So this kind of, if you are on a mission, this is what will help you. Just think about this research project as your mission to help the world, or to help people like you, like your colleagues.
I think that's great advice and a really good way to kind of think about what we're doing during these times when it's like, well, I'm lacking the motivation to push through this. So thank you for sharing that. So Alina, we are coming up on 2 years of being in this very weird space of being more virtually connected and working from home. And one of the things that's been a result of all that is that our academic conferences have been virtual and not in person. So what I'm wondering is, thinking optimistically and hopefully and all of that, what academic conference are you looking forward to attending when we return to in-person conferences?
I am actually going to Orlando to attend International Public Relations Research Conference face-to-face in March. I would be presenting 2 papers. One paper is done with Dr. Bruce Berger, Roll Tide. And another paper is with Dr. Diana Martinelli, who is on board of the Planck Center for Leadership in Public Relations. And that paper that Diana and I did was supported by the Planck Center for Leadership in Public Relations. Yes, I will be presenting face-to-face in March. And also I submitted, not me, but it was a group of my colleagues who submitted 2 panels for ICA, International Communication Association in Paris, France. And as for right now, it's not clear if it would be face-to-face or online, because I tried to register for the conference and they say wait until middle of February, and I said, oh my God, I can't wait. Do I look like a person who is able to wait? No, I want to go to Paris. I want to socialize with my European colleagues. But yeah, so far so good. Fingers crossed.
Excellent. Yes, our fingers are crossed, and you are not the first person who has mentioned ICA. And so we not to give too many spoilers away, but if the conference happens, we are intending to get our podcast guests together somewhere over in Paris.
Yep.
Oh, very good. Very good. I hope to be there.
Us too.
Yes. And you know what? To, I guess, complete our conversation, more likely I will be flying from Moscow, Russia to Paris. And you will not believe me. And every American right now who loves Paris would say, You lucky one. It will take me like 3 hours. Imagine 3 hours to get to Paris.
Wow.
Am I lucky? Absolutely.
Elina, it has been so great to catch up with you today and learn about all of the really amazing things that you've done over the course of your career. We are so thrilled to have you as a guest. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As you could understand, I love sharing.
Thank you so much.
We'll end it with a roll tide, right?
Roll tide.
Roll tide.
All right, I'm going to repeat this because it's worth repeating. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's episode. And thank you for tuning in week after week to hear all of the guests that we've had on this podcast. As you know, we're talking to Ph.D. alum. And so next week, we're going to be talking to another one, Dr. Andrea Wagner. Andrea is the most fascinating human being I know, truly. She has done so much in her life, including qualifying for the Olympic trials in the marathon, which has nothing to do with academia. But she does a lot of research, kind of in her previous life, looking at sports and children and media effects and how all of the things going on in the world in a mediated context can shape and influence kids and their thoughts and behaviors and feelings and all of that. This conversation is so much fun. There are so many things to tease, but you'll have to tune in to hear it.